Hey there, gonna try to do a video again after the disaster of this weekend. I'm a little bit leery. We'll see how it works. So I just wanted to mention a couple things that I did find today. I know I hit you with a lot of info and attachments yesterday, and so I didn't really plan on sending you a whole lot. But this is what I think worth it. Just kind of telling you some of the things that I did see today. And then I'll probably leave you alone the rest of the week. Trying to put everything together. This is like the James Allen Pearson temp tree, which pretty much come to the conclusion that it's Quincy Lou Sims that I'm related to. She was born in Texarkana. That's really the only thing that makes sense. And of course, her mother was Eugenia Ward, and of course, there's no info on her, so that makes it even more likely that that's the connection, given that there's no info on them. And so, just making a note of that. And so, moving on here. So, what I did is I actually did a family tree of yours, just to make it to where I could have something like right there. The biggest issue that I had when looking at your tree was it didn't tell me who the person was. Like this guy, whenever I pull him up, like it will tell me who he is, like second great grandfather. That helps so much because it's so easy to get distracted and to miscalculate the relationships. And I mean, I went from 0 to 100 on this. I went all the way back, I believe, as far as your sixth grandparents on some areas. Some things that I did notice. You do have a whitehead, according to the calculations and the auto, filling. I mean, again, this isn't heavily researched. Your seventh great grandmother would have been Mary Abigail Whitehead. Um, you know, we'll go with that. So that could be why some of the Whitehead stuff comes up. Um, Again, you also have there's Spurlock, Hewitt Parsons kind of caught my attention a little bit, but there are several Baileys here. You've got a handful of Baileys in here. Obviously, the Yarboroughs, you've got a Rice, and there's one here that I kind of want to look at. So, obviously, the Griffins, you've got a Wright, Mary Wright. Sarah Ann Rice, I believe, is fourth. Yeah, I know yours better than mine now. And so if you kind of go through her, obviously you get even more Baileys on that side. And then you get an Allen and a Bailey, and of course Townsend. I'm not sure which one of those would be the grandmother. Didn't really care that much, but just wanted to add everybody. But it looks like he married twice. That would explain why I will always joke with you about how Townsend come up. I mean, it would kind of make sense. I've seen light trees come up in the past. We do have a Harris going way back. I mean, again, that's a common name. I've seen probably Parker the most, Harris probably the second most as far as the owners of family trees go. But I just wanted to mention that there is one that caught my attention, which I can't forget to do that one. So you also have wards, and it's around the area that we're kind of focusing. Again, now I can't guarantee the accuracy of any of this. Obviously, you've done a lot more research on your family tree than I have, so I can't claim to have knowledge that you've never seen before. But the Sarah Ward, to me, and all this could already be in your tree. I have no idea. I just because I opened this and just wanted to go up. We've got Mary and Sarah. Now Sarah Ward would have been I believe third, yeah, third grandmother, and then there's another ward that's the fourth grandmother. Um, and so I just thought that was interesting. So, I mean, we've got Whiteheads, Harris, Ward, um, obviously Yarborough and Griffin, and some other ones. It's kind of interesting to see, the names on here. Some of it was like, oh, okay, well, that's why I pulled up those trees all the time. And But it was just kind of interesting to see and to get more familiar with some of the surnames because, according to what I'm thinking, kind of what you've been saying, we should have a grandparent in common. And so that's kind of why I figured, okay, I need to get all the grandparents, together and see I remember there was a little bit of conflicting info there. That's why I didn't add that, but we'll just go ahead and add that and go with it, Catherine White. And so, I mean, this is kind of what I've been doing. Now, granted, I do generally at least check before I just add them in there. And it doesn't, if there's more than one conflicting thing, it usually will not do the automatically filtering Southby. But obviously that's, we could go way back if we wanted to. Now, so moving on, today, what I did today, the only thing I did today was I expanded on the kid line, given that we had just talked about that. I think I mentioned to you, I basically started up at the very top. I believe it was Thomas Kimbrough, 1707. I expanded downward. It was basically like a who's who of all the surnames that we've researched in the past. I've sent you some of those screenshots. The kids came into the family. And then so this is all kind of the stuff that I did today. So there was a ward that came in, and so obviously that caught my attention a little bit. Now, granted, I don't think I've not checked the locations, really that closely. I'm just kind of looking at the surnames. But we had a Clark marry into the kids. We had a Beasley, which I know has come up, not a whole lot, but I know that we've probably discussed it. What name haven't we discussed? Now, the Harveys come up. They are a name that has come up frequently, not necessarily with you, but I've noticed that there's a lot of common links. It's kind of like the James Allen Pearson mystery. It seems like they kind of run parallel. The Harveys seem to have been linked to you on occasion. But this was the exciting stuff. So Virginia Kid married Lewis Harvey, and then the Cannons come into the picture. And so I would think that is a huge lead. Now, granted, the location, this is Sidney Jefferson Cannon. The Cannon that I found the obituary for was Sidney Basil. Obviously, he was a little bit younger. And so I could not verify, I could not find him in the tree, but I mean, it's hard to believe because, I mean, there's a bunch of Sidneys, that's kind of like a family name. Couldn't really get past that a whole lot, but I just thought that was a huge lead, and so that made me think right there, Harvey is a possibility, Ward obviously is a possibility, Kid obviously is a possibility, and I can't leave out Bailey, obviously. And so going back here, so one thing I noticed, we've also got a Higgins, and so I have a theory now that it's not actually the Cannons that we should be looking at. And again, I've not thought about this, if it agrees with the DNA matches or not, but basically we get a Higgins, and then we get a Rice, who was one of your grandparents. We also, obviously, we've got more Rices there, a Murray. And also, this is the Cannon temp tree. There's also a Higgins that married Bennett, and Bennett is a name that has come up as well. And so I'm wondering, so that kind of adds to the equation of Bennett and Higgins. And I've expanded on the Cannon temp tree. I didn't even have this stuff. There's the Deans. Mary Dean married Isaac Higgins. I would think that would be a decent lead, so you can add Dean on the numerous list of possibilities. But I mean, it looks like how you get, and she was an unknown. That bothered me. I tried to. Some even had them as brother and sister, but I don't think they were. But I mean, you've got another Dean up here, a Wright. So I mean, you've got a lot of the surnames that go in your tree. You've got the Wrights, the Deans, which I really didn't go to the. I didn't have a whole lot of Deans on your family tree. I don't really. I probably just didn't go the route that they come in by no means that I do a great job on your tree. But the Higgins name comes in, becomes the Bennetts, and then they are the ones that marry the Cannon. So I'm wondering if that's where the relationship comes from. There's also another family tree when looking at the Cannons. There's a Kordzek Griffin family tree. I guess her name is Andrea Griffin. She pretty much outlines the same thing, but I mean, she's a Griffin, and I mean, she outlined the same canon relationships here. Um, I don't know if she is a DNA match to you or anybody that you might be linked to. But I mean, she's kind of has the same thing going that I do. Pretty much, it's basically it looks like it's almost what I have in the Cannons, and then let's see, Evans. I was thinking that was maybe Evans, but anyway. So I just thought that was worth sharing. Some of the trees that I've come up with when doing some of these lines. This one not quite as important, I don't think, but I just noticed that the Mitchells and the Tidwells were listed in this one along with the Higgins. And there's a couple Tidwells right there. I mean, again, I'm not this one. There's a right, of course. Where are there right people? Mitchell. This one wasn't that significant. Now this one came up quite a bit. The Cook Harvey Harris Kid Tree, and I did forget to mention because this also reminds me. So going back to the kid line. I also added a Vaughn line as well, and wish me luck finding it. I believe it was a Kid and Vaughn marriage, and if you remember the one DNA match that we had that was linked to the McCubbins, his grandmother was a Vaughn. There it is. And of course, I've not done a good job in like looking at who her parents were, or who his parents were. But that's one thing that the Vaughn name hasn't really come up at all, except that. And so I'm wondering if that's how. I can't think of his name now, but he was linked to the McCubbins, and it was a Vaughn name, and he was a DNA match of ours, and that's one trace that we have not figured out yet. And so basically, and of course, I get all these messages from my cousin off and on throughout the day. And so, so basically, I guess I was going to check who the parents were. Elizabeth Richardson. See, I always at least add the parents, which obviously that was pretty uneventful. So basically, and he's not going to leave me alone now. Okay, so basically, I'm going to close out of that real quick. Okay, so that was not fruitful. So anyway, but I just thought that was very interesting. Again, I have not expanded that line. I swear, he is really irritating me now. So basically, I have the Vaughns that were added today. It seems like there was another surname that was oh yeah, Camp was also added. I know that we've talked about Camp, like off and on. Sorry, he's just bugging the crap out of me right now. And so anyway, but let me see if there's anything else that I was going to share here. So there was a Jones and Stephenson tree that keeps coming up. Again, it shows that there are kids that are linked to wards, which we are obviously already knew that. The Harveys. I know the Cook name has come up quite a bit. It looks like the Cooks marry the Harveys as well. It seemed like there was another name that I seen here too. But I mean, there's all kinds of these surnames mixed in here that we have looked at, but Okay, yeah, this was it. This was the year. Yeah, Harris. I mean, you have the Harris Cook, Harvey's. I mean, it just, and then the kids are right there. It just, So there's that. I'm going to go ahead and close out of that now. The Holmes family tree is the last one. I mean, that's come up a lot. I don't really know what significance that has. I've not even had much of a chance to look at it, but it looks like it has a kid and a Mitchell marriage right there, just kind of glancing over it. But I mean, just a lot of information here. The kid name seems to be pretty good. I mean, Kidd, Rice, Bennett, Bailey, Ward, Dean, Higgins, and I guess even Wright, if you can count that one. But so basically, that's kind of what I figured out today. I would just think that the fact that um, there was the kid relationship with the Cannons. I would think that that would be a huge lead. Hopefully, I was excited whenever I found that. But since Facebook will not stop bugging me, even if I close out of it, I will go ahead and end this video.